How would you describe the right understanding? It seems that most people see understanding, or wisdom, either as sudden meditative experiences that purify you from defilements miraculously, or as detailed knowledge and analytical prowess regarding Buddhist doctrine and the like. What is the understanding one should seek if it's neither of these? The understanding that used to make people sotapannas during their conversations with the Buddha.
So yes, correct. It's neither of those really. Like people approach Buddhism through their. Obviously, people get interested in some sort of spiritual practice, and then meditation and meditation experiences and so on. And then even if they come across the suttas, even if they think they're reading the suttas objectively, they're really still reading them through those spiritual expectations they would have developed and acquired beforehand, such as magical meditation experience, hypnotic practices that will result in some great revelations and so on. So even when they read the suttas, they kind of see those things in the suttas, although if you just look at the suttas objectively, there is nothing like that in them. I mean, the best example of that is the contemporary Theravada and the entire commentary sort of tradition, which is like reading the meditation techniques and ideas about the practice back into the scriptures and using it to support itself in return. But if you just put aside, or if you were to not know the commentaries and the modern meditation methods, you would never arrive at those same conclusions if you just read the suttas the way they speak. So that's a problem. Like that bias, it's not. It can be subtle, obviously. That the point of view you're coming from can certainly influence how you understand the texts, how you read them, what you see in them. So that's why, like, if you really want to know what type of understanding the Buddha, the suttas talk about, just understand the word understanding. Like, put aside your spiritual practice, put aside the weight of the tradition, but everybody else does this and says it's right. Just, the suttas talk about understanding, full understanding all the time. So what is full understanding in colloquial terms? Like, what is it that you understand? So you see, like, okay, so then it's not a magical hypnotic experience of the revelation of the true world or something, because that's obviously not understanding. That's just novelty. On the other hand, well, it's certainly not drawing the vast amount of connections in space and time through information and everything you learned about it. So what is it then? Like, what is understanding? When you say understood something, what do you mean? So obviously, you need some information. You need some instruction in order to, in order to know what you need to understand. But then, is understanding in colloquial terms measured by, as I said, just experience, sort of like you're randomly doing these practices and waiting for something new to happen, preferably pleasant, and so that you can call it understanding? Or is understanding really when you're clear in the beginning, in the middle, and the end of what you're doing and what it leads to? So if you were to, in colloquial terms, understand any problem, you would see, oh yeah, there is obviously the information I gather about the problem. But then there is the active effort I put to really see for myself. Not just parrot what I learned, not just introduce more information, more references about what I learned, but it's like, no, I got enough, but I really need to see for myself the principle behind of whatever I'm trying to understand. And if you keep doing that, making such effort to discern the meaning behind, then the time will come when you will actually have the aha moment. But at no point would you then think that aha moment came out of your nostril calming meditation hypnotic technique. Because it didn't. It would have come because you've been trying to understand all these years, never letting go of the theme, of the topic, of what's important. Sure, sometimes added more information when that was needed, but the point is, no amount of information would have been taken at face value, and you would have been using it just to get closer to the meaning of the principle that you're trying to understand. And when you understood it, as the sutta says, he knows that he knows. Not like, oh, now I know, because something happened to me. Therefore, that must be Sottapati. That's like this generic commentarial, as I said, modern Theravada view, and it's completely upside down. So even understanding in colloquial terms, it's not really obscure term. It's not really hard to understand what understanding means. But it got so convoluted and distorted when it was applied, when it was taken and sort of sucked into these contemporary practices, whereby understanding today just means anything from like a mystical experience of the knowing is now or things like that, which makes no sense, to like, or like just a dry study and drawing connections and having everything fit in your head, all the information, every answer for every angle. Yet the suttas go on and on about a very simple thing: suffering and the end of it. Have you understood? Not because you rely on information, not because you rely on a novelty experience of your hypnotic technique. Put both of those aside. Do you know for yourself fully? Can you explain it to others? What is the presently arisen cause of presently arisen suffering? Can you explain to others what is the presently arisen escape from the presently arisen suffering? Without referencing the Buddha, without referencing the suttas, without parroting the phrases and stock phrases and so on, without saying, well, I just know because it just happened on one retreat. No. Do you understand? And as a result of that understanding, are you untouchable by that suffering? So that's what understanding is. And that's why that understanding needs to be, like it's simply not optional to develop it any other way except on the basis of withdrawal from everything unwholesome on account of virtue and sense restraint. That is creating the basis where this meaning, where this principle that the Buddha talked about lives, so to speak. So that's why you can't, as I said, you can't just stumble upon it through trying to figure out connections of, between the suttas and this and that and all the different aspects that you read, and then just have like you might have many of aha moments when you discover parallels. Oh, look, this sutta is saying this and that. That's the same, and I had that, and I remember that. All of those are forms of insight. Nobody's denying that. But see, it's not the insight that frees you from suffering. So if it's not that insight that frees you from suffering, you shouldn't stop there. And if you already know everything in terms of the suttas, if you have every information, yet you're still not a Sotapanna, well, it's not because you're lacking the instruction of another. It's because you're lacking the other counterpart, yoniso manasikara, that can only be developed on the basis of virtue and sense restraint, like thorough purification, withdrawal from sensuality, celibacy. Like those are prerequisite for yoniso manasikara. I mean, as the other suttas say so many times, there is not a single thing that would make unarisen sensual desire arise and proliferate, unarisen desire arise and arisen proliferate and spread, such as ayoniso manasikara. So, by withdrawing from sensuality, you are inadvertently, even without knowing at the time, practicing yoniso manasikara, developing that range, so to speak. That factor, that is the factor for the right view. So when that internal side has been sort of carved out sufficiently enough through pressure imposed on account of the precepts, sense restraint, moderation, and the instruction of another, then yes, when you think about suffering, as I said, presently arisen cause, the escape, the craving, all the aspects that the Buddha talk about, well, they are close to the basis where they can apply. Without it, doesn't matter the amount of effort you put, it's just going to be abstract. It's going to be abstracted from that base, and it cannot possibly result in that, liberation. Because once the actual suffering is understood correctly for what it is, you can't suffer even if you want to. And you can't go back either. It's irreversible.